engineer. Tell me the best avenue for armor down there.
Through those fields and on the other side. Good concealment.
Good. And would you suspect a minefield in enemy territory?
Yes, where the folds join and flatten.
Excellent. You have an eye for reconnaissance. Ours.
I hope you're pleased with your assignment to Recon Battalion. We have a need for a good engineer with an eye for terrain. Well, be frank with me.
Frankly, I'd prefer to be doing engineering for the motherland. I studied hard for my certificate.
Understandable. But I think I can explain how your contribution to reconnaissance will be even more valuable.
Thank you, Comrade Major. But your time is valuable. I accept my assignment.
Of course you do.
You might have read in our professional journals where some military thinkers are not comfortable with the levels of training in the reconnaissance units. This could well be true in general, not in this recon battalion. I found that informed people perform better. Therefore, it is worth some of my valuable time to brief the new engineering expert on Soviet people's collection capabilities. Clear, Lieutenant Tachenko?
Clear, Comrade Major.
Reconnaissance, as we define it, is the collection of intelligence information about the location, dispositions, composition, number, armament, combat preparedness, character of activities, and intentions of the enemy in the interest of combat. Anything missing?
What about terrain? Excellent.
Although we do not include terrain in our definition, it is implied and represents a large part of our mission. Next, reconnaissance is categorized as strategic, operational, and tactical. Strategic collection takes place at national and international levels. Major responsibility for this type of collection resides with either or both of our Soviet people's two investigative agencies, the KGB and the GRU. Now, details of their activities and the intricacies of their interrelationships are too complex for this bunker. However, a few of their functions do apply to our discussion. Overhead platforms provide a prime source of strategic information. The GRU manages satellite and aerial collection. Their satellites circle the globe constantly. They gather visual, infrared, and electronic information from all nations about activities civilian and military. And they monitor weather and geography. Supporting the GRU satellite program are the long-range aircraft that fly photo and SIGINT missions around the world. Both the KGB and the GRU collect strategic information from a host of other platforms, such as merchant ships, our trawler fleet, and our embassy rooftops. These platforms are better suited to the wide variety of electronic signals gathering. In their terms, SIGINT, COMINT, and ILINT. Both the KGB and the GRU also have networks of agents. And both agencies place extremely high priority on this humanly derived information. These networks extend into every nook and corner of the world. They cover the very halls and planning rooms of our opponents. If you have not seen a collection of these foreign publications, it would be hard for you to believe how generous these capitalist nations could be. Our agencies simply subscribe to these magazines to keep abreast of scientific developments abroad, developments of a very sensitive nature. To summarize, the KGB is the senior of the two agencies. It is primarily counterintelligence, party protection, then an intelligence gathering agency. The KGB is very large, perhaps 300,000 strong, and it supervises, sometimes indirectly, all of the Soviet People's Intelligence, as well as Warsaw Pact and Cuban. The GRU provides us with worldwide SIGINT, all satellite efforts, spies and agents like those of the KGB, technical research types and tactical reconnaissance troops, including our elite Spetsnaz groups. You might notice a good deal of overlap between these two agencies. This is in keeping with our fundamental philosophy of collection. We require at least two separate sources for any piece of information to be considered reliable. This applies to strategic information collected in the international arena, as well as a report from a private on sentry duty. Therefore, the KGB and the GRU provide separate sources for strategic reconnaissance. Clear, Lieutenant Tachenko?
Clear, Comrade Major.
Good.
But how does this international activity apply to us?
Excellent question. In two ways. First, we can feed into the body of strategic information. Our collections move up the chain. If sufficiently valuable, they go all the way. For instance, an important captive or a new piece of enemy equipment. It happens.
Second, strategic reconnaissance comes down to our division intelligence officer in the form of publications like enemy order of battle, general weather and terrain information, and information regarding civilian communities in our path. The vast body of background material our division intelligence officer consults comes mostly from the efforts of strategic reconnaissance. Clear, Lieutenant Tachenko?
Clear, Comrade Major.
So much for now. We will leave deeper examination of strategic reconnaissance for your outside study.
I understand, Comrade Major.
Now, operational reconnaissance. Fronts and armies accomplish operational reconnaissance. To do this, commanders have a number of means available to them, such as special recon units like our Spetsnaz, airborne or air-mobile troops, air or ground photography, chemical, biological, radiological, and engineering specialists, and an extremely broad arsenal of electronic, radio, radar, optical, sound ranging, and direction-finding equipment. The Spetsnaz, as well as airborne and air-mobile troops, are soldiers selected to receive extra training in small unit recon methods. We can include the naval infantry in this class. They are equipped and trained in the amphibious environment. All of these reconnaissance specialists can work surprisingly far behind enemy lines and carry out dramatic feats of collection, as well as disruption and destruction. They are usually provided with special equipment and communications means to aid them in their difficult missions. However, what they collect is the same in nature as that which is collected by my recon patrols. Human information. This, to me, is very special information. We'll talk about it more when we come to tactical reconnaissance.
Question, Comrade Major. What would be typical recon targets for a special unit?
Excellent question. In general, nuclear capabilities are the #1 recon targets. Next are what the enemy calls his C-cubed assets, the means of command, control, and communications. Special units will usually be collecting on these elements. However, they may be utilized for any purpose the commander deems appropriate.
Thank you, Comrade Major.
Next, air. A tactical air army is organic to each front. Usually, the TAA will be augmented by an independent reconnaissance regiment of 60 to 100 aircraft. Fighters and fighter bombers can also be assigned reconnaissance missions. Like all reconnaissance elements, the primary information target is enemy nuclear capabilities, followed by C-cubed assets. The TAA carries out tactical recon missions in the first 200 miles beyond the front line of troops. Operational missions extend from 200 to 600 miles. The TAA is equipped with a variety of aircraft to accomplish its missions, and these aircraft are steadily improving in capabilities. Although not a part of the tactical air army, drones provide commanders with yet another form of airborne reconnaissance. These unmanned aircraft are organized into battalions of 12 units and made organic to combined arms armies. What is important to us is the functional capability of TAA. Our division intelligence officer can task TAA for a variety of missions in support of our tactical situation. He can ask for low, medium, and high altitude photographic coverage. There are infrared and camouflage detection methods available. Then there is an extremely wide variety of ELINT and SIGINT, and of course SLAR. Is that clear, Lieutenant Tichenko?
Question, Comrade Major.
Yes.
What is SLAR?
Side-looking airborne radar. These acronyms are confusing. Next acronym, REC. What do you know about REC?
I know it stands for Radio Electronic Combat, little else.
I fear that is typical. Briefly, REC is the integration of electronic weapons with the weapons of physical destruction to attack the enemy's C-cubed assets. Included in REC is our own operation security. We plan to jam or destroy 60% of his command, control, and communications. If we succeed, we win. To mention a few of the ground-based electronic capabilities we utilize, there are several high-frequency interceptors, both communications and non-communications. We have radio relay, air-ground, and air-comm intercept. We intercept tactical VHF. We have numerous direction-finding receivers designed for most frequency ranges of radio and radar. And most of this equipment is repeated in aircraft mode. The subject is quite extensive and is central to modern warfare.
It sounds very effective.
Yes. However, for REC to work, the enemy must cooperate by using sloppy operation procedure, which he does. It is difficult to train soldiers to respect something they cannot see or hear. If and when soldiers start losing their lives to radio-electronic combat, they will change. Will they change quickly enough to counter our REC? Time will tell. Hours. Much REC activity can be termed operational and is carried out at front and army levels. However, you shall see how we too are tasked
with REC missions. A full discussion of REC is more than we have time for, so we shall leave deeper study for your outside reading. Clear, Lieutenant Tichenko?
Clear, Comrade Major.
Next, we have several specialized types of reconnaissance performed by front and army units.
These are the nuclear and chemical surveys. We can monitor nuclear contamination from aircraft or from the ground. Biological hazards are monitored by the medical units. You will also be pleased to hear, Lieutenant Tichenko, that the engineers formed special recon parties for the purpose of evaluating terrain and enemy construction and obstacles. And your divers can do underwater surveys and evaluations.
And as you well know, engineers are assigned to maneuver units to support their recon efforts. Now, artillery reconnaissance, usually called target acquisition at front and army level, is directed toward the deployment of heavy artillery and rockets. Their reconnaissance is mostly of the operational variety.
Division artillery's target acquisition brings us to the discussion of tactical reconnaissance. They employ recon and SIGINT methods to locate targets and opposing artillery within tactical range. They have a specific type of enemy observation called sound ranging and flash ranging. Theirs. Sound ranging and flash ranging are used to locate and target enemy artillery. They must also observe and evaluate their own shooting. Our battery commanders locate themselves in command observation posts well forward, so they can perform the major part of their own observation. The other specialized aspect of target acquisition at all levels is the channel of reporting. Target acquisition information goes first to Chief of Artillery and the shooters. Then it is passed to other intelligence users depending on the level of activity. Clear, Lieutenant Tichenko?
Clear, Comrade Major.
Which brings us to our sphere of activity, the divisions and battalions engaged in fighting the war. The battalions provide our first set of eyes and ears. Each mounts about 4 OP-LPs.
Excuse me, Comrade Major. What precisely is OP-LP?
Good question.
The observation post, listening post. In armored battalions, each is a single tank in a well-concealed position. Our motorized battalions establish posts of 3 or 4 men under an officer. They are well equipped with optical devices, night viewing, infrared, and even ground sensors. Communication is land wire if possible. These posts have a proud tradition dating from the Great Patriotic War. They provide excellent protection from surprise. The battalions also have an organic recon company. And finally, all combat units are capable of reconnaissance. I've shown you a world of information sources, all more or less available to our division's intelligence officer. But to complete his actual picture of the battlefield, he tasks us, the division's recon battalion, to produce the final crucial bits. We are well equipped to respond. Our SIGINT assets include both radio and radar intercept and direction finding capability. We have air and air-to-ground intercept and DF. And we have the necessary map, topographical and analysis support. Our hardware itself is very well matched with the tasks. And a recently added DF asset inspired one of their writers to call us the best equipped Soviet unit. That pleased me. These assets are under our direct control, and they work in close harmony with our human collection patrols. Now, I'm told one front fields 1,500 SIGINT elements. Indeed, 80% of our information is said to come from SIGINT, COMINT, and ILINT sources. One of my favorite generals has said, you can never do too much reconnaissance.
General Kutuzov.
No. General George Patton. But I think old blood and guts, as they called him, was referring to human reconnaissance. I think human reconnaissance is the kind that commanders ultimately rely on. Our battalion supplies humans for recon efforts. We work from a BMP company, a scout car company which includes motorcycles, and a long-range recon company whose people often go on foot. It is important to understand that recon elements like these are fielded by all levels of command, from front down to company level. So there are many human eyes and ears out there collecting for their various commanders. All of these people, and you and I are included, Lieutenant Tachenko, are tasked with penetrating enemy territory for the purpose of collecting information. Some missions are completely clandestine, avoiding all contact. Sometimes we make brief contact with the enemy and withdraw. Other times we make and maintain contact, sending continuous information to our respective commanders. We are expected to perform these missions up to 100 kilometers beyond front line of troops. Now, I want you to know that I am very fond of my soldiers. I will not send them out to satisfy idle curiosity. Typically, we go on these risky missions to obtain crucial information. Recall the REC doctrine I mentioned. We might well be sent to locate and describe a key element of command, control, or communication. We establish key avenues and features of terrain. We search out nuclear capabilities. The point is, our contribution to the total body of information might be relatively small in quantity, but the human contribution is crucial in quality. I said I felt I could convince you of the value of your contribution to reconnaissance. Let me say finally that war between major powers can affect the course of mankind. Divisions actually fighting the battles will decide the war, and the best informed divisions will win the battle. Which will be the best informed, Lieutenant Tachenko? Ours or theirs?